I'm Mark Monteferro, Public Information Officer for the City of Vacaville, and this is another episode of Word on the Street with Vacaville Police Chief Rich Word. Rich, thanks for taking some time out of your day.
Sure, Mark.
Today's episode is a little more somber than most. We've had some rather horrific incidents in the last month, and I thought it'd be good if we kind of talked about what's been going on. I know in my office I've been getting a lot of calls from the media about the happenings, and I thought it'd be good if we kind of just addressed some of the concerns that the media has expressed, and certainly our residents have too. I guess in about the middle of November we had the double homicide.
Yeah. And
then just recently we had the attempted homicide of the 13-year-old girl and the 18-month-old toddler. The one question, and I'm going to just throw this out there because I've gotten asked this, is what's going on?
What's going on? Well, the first one, this is a young man, 18, Mr. Richard Calkins, and we had prior contact with him. It's the strangest thing. It was really something. We believe there was some drugs involved, had a weapon at a house with some other young people. And for some unexplained reason, as based on reports, witness reports, we believe he shot 3, killed 2, and then he decides to walk to the police department at 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. You can't explain it. It's irrational. It's irrational behavior. But he was a high school dropout, if that means anything. It's hard to say. We believe he had some gang ties, and Mr. Calkins did, and it's hard to explain it. I wish we could. It wasn't random where he went out to shoot people that he didn't know. He knew these folks. It was a horrible tragedy. Thankfully, he's in custody. He's been charged. The female victim will survive. So thank God. And then ultimately, after that, we did make an arrest of 2 other people associated, one that was in the house and another we believe had been supplying drugs to Mr. Calkins. And then, of course, just recently, the horrible tragedy of stabbing and sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl.
Let's stick with the Calkins case just for a second. It seems to me it might be kind of fortunate that he was located as close as he was to the police department when this happened. Because can you imagine him walking down the street and heading downtown?
No.
Or heading somewhere else?
At 3, 4 p.m., for example. Yeah. That would have been unbelievably tragic if he had a loaded gun and he's high as a kite, as I believe, walking down the street. That would have been disastrous. It still is, of course. Obviously it is. I'm pleased with the restraint the police officers showed in using a taser to subdue him versus deadly force.
Right.
So that was pleasing to me. I mean, in some, I submit in some other agencies they would have used deadly force, but the officers here, Sergeant Pat Williams, showed a lot of restraint in subduing him.
Okay, now let's talk about our most recent horrific, tragic episode with this 14-year-old young man who did what he did.
Yeah, another young man who there's been some prior police contact with him too. I was surprised, Mark. He's charged as an adult, but he should be, given the nature of his crime. Breaking into someone's home, stabbing a 13-year-old girl, sexually abusing her, and then stabbing an 18-month-old toddler. Again, irrational behavior. Again, we went to that scene, and given the nature of the crime and what we had, we used our SWAT team to enter the house and subdue him, take him into custody. Without incident, he was not harmed. And again, I'm glad he's being charged as an adult, because given the nature of the crime, I think he should be. I'm so pleased, that those victims will survive. It's shocking given the number of stab wounds. Yeah,
but it begs the question. You're talking about an 18-year-old. One of the other arrests, the person was 16.
Yes.
This kid is 14. shouldn't it, I was going to say, shouldn't it be going the other way?
You would think.
18, 20, 22, they're getting younger and younger.
I'm amazed at some of these young people we see, not just in Vacaville, of course, but throughout America now. They seem to be, I don't know if it's more, but the anger they have and when they respond in violent ways, you wonder why. Is it because of what they see in the media, the internet, TV, and movies? Maybe in part. Is it driven by drug use? Maybe in part. Is it driven by dysfunction in the home? Maybe some domestic violence, some alcohol or drug abuse, or an absentee parent, or both parents are absentee. I think those are factors. I'm not suggesting they're factors in these cases, but I think they're common factors that we see. Poor school performance, issues in the home, domestic violence, substance abuse, alcohol abuse. And I think what you have then is an angry kid, and it doesn't take much to trigger a response, a violent response.
You talk about young kids and it happening everywhere. This is clearly this is not typical for Vacaville by any way, shape, or form.
I mean, this is a safe city. Our crime is down. I just checked through November. We're down 13% on serious crime. So that's pleasing, especially given this economy and higher unemployment in the region. I think that speaks well of, I think, the police department, but also the support services we have in our community. They are vigilant, and that's what it takes. But being mindful of kids and teachers see these behaviors, and that's why I think it's so important to have officers on our school campuses. And they alert us to behaviors which are concerning. And we'll use social workers, we'll intervene, we'll put kids on these little diversion contracts where we watch them for 6 months. And I think we can head off a lot of this behavior, but it's so important for adults, teachers, parents, other loved ones, neighbors, to be mindful of the behavior which is atypical.
Yeah, and that's what's, I think, a little troubling, at least for me. We have a lot of things in place in town.
Yes.
You just ran off a list of them.
Yeah.
And yet, still, here are the cracks. They fall through.
Yeah, there are cracks in every system. We're not a full-service city. We're not a social service provider. The county provides those services, health and social services. But we do, because it's the Vacaville way, we do provide some of those services with social workers and counselors. We work closely with the school district. We provide parenting classes. We have, as you know, the Youth Roundtable and services for kids that come from that effort. So there's a lot of good. The Boys and Girls Club, PAL, Police Activities League, a lot of good things for kids. But some, unfortunately, Mark, they fall through the cracks. And we hope there's a system, an adult, an agency that can capture them before something horrible happens, but unfortunately not always.
Well, without getting up on my soapbox, but here I go. It seems that it's a lot of it is a parenting issue too.
I fully agree. Absolutely.
I mean, I used to think I was way too hard on my kids. My kids have grown up into responsible, caring people and adults.
Sure.
I think a lot of folks are just a little too easy on their kids. They want to be their friend instead of their parent. The end result is some of the stuff we see.
Soon after I came here, I had a guy meet with me. Police officer in another jurisdiction. Concerned about his 2 teenage sons. One was 17, I think one was 19. Wanted me to do something with one of them. I said, do what? Well, can't you take them someplace? And pretty much essentially asked me to fix them. And I said, no. There's no place that we take kids, unless they're arrested, of course. And I said, it's your job as a parent to find out what the issues are. If it's a medical issue, to get him he or she the medical care they need. Schooling, then you have to get he or she the tutoring they need. A mentor, there's mentoring services. We have the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the North Bay. There are resources available. I think some parents, sadly, believe my kid is big. He or she can take care of himself. No,
or about it's almost denial, and it is denial. He's a good boy. He would never do anything. It's not his fault. Somebody did this to him. How many times have you heard that?
Sure,
young people.
But is he drinking at a young age? Who are his friends? Are they hanging out late? What are they doing? Is there drug use? Check the room. Be mindful of school performance. If that takes a sudden dip, intervene. Get some help. Call us. We have resources where we can certainly direct you in the right way.
And that's the thing. There's a ton of resources, and 99.9% of them are free.
Yes.
You know, you get homework help, you get social help, you name it.
Exactly.
It's there.
It's
there. Avail yourself of these services.
And that's what parents. I mean, parenting is. I think it's once you have kids, it's a lifelong. As I know, it's a lifelong effort. You have to stay engaged, be diligent, seek out resources, be mindful of what they're doing. And you can't simply assume because he's a nice kid to you that he's always doing the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, another question that kind of pops up is, what are you doing about it? What are you going to do about this? And there really isn't anything you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, we make the arrest, we work with the DA to prosecute the case, but we do look to see, we go back, Mark, to look at prior behaviors, prior contacts, and we talk to the school district to see if there's something that where we could have intervened earlier. We will go back and do that in this instance, to look at the profiles of these two young guys to see if there's something we could have done at an earlier point. Maybe there was, I don't know. Maybe we missed something. But typically we put the resources, we make them available to kids and to parents.
Right.
And referrals are made by officers, they're made by teaching staff. We can't ignore that other component, the faith-based community.
Right.
I mean, I think that's a key. They see these families too, and they need to know they can also make referrals.
Well, this is probably not a question you can answer, but I'll give it a try anyway. Are we doomed as a society, Chief?
No, I think there's so many good people here.
Right.
It's a great city with great people, great businesses, great activities. And I love it here. I love my kids are still here and working and going to school. I think we're in good shape. It's unfortunate, Mark. It seems to be a lot of tension, a lot of stress out there given the higher unemployment. The budgets on every level of government are upside down, and people are finding it hard. I think that may be a factor. Hopefully we can overcome that in time.
Well, Chief, thanks for kind of giving us a little insight into some of these events. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about what's going on. Clearly not typical for our city, and to be honest, not typical for most cities or any city. I would say.
Yeah.
So
thankfully,
but yes, thankfully, we'll deal with it. We'll move on. Vacaville's a great community,
yes, it is.
And it will get through this like it has in the past with other issues. So,
it will.
Anyway, thanks again, and thanks for watching Word on the Street.